Hello out there in TV land. Social media, Instagram Reels, all the same thing, so it'll be okay. It's like TV. But it is late March, which means March Madness is upon us. And as an avid college basketball enthusiast, despite a crumbling Memphis program, I got your East and South bracket region breakdowns. My boy Vance will be handling the other two brackets, but the real one's coming over here. So some good, interesting topics to talk about in the South bracket. The East bracket, not so much. But let me jump into this South one. So for this South bracket, you got four big national brands, four potential national championship contenders, in my opinion. One, you got Houston, which we know the story behind Houston. Came from the AAC, has dominated the Big 12, except that Big 12 championship game. But while I don't think Iowa State's that good, Houston's offense can't be that bad. So that's the big question behind them. Number two, Marquette. They've been down twice by UConn, arguably the best team in the country. But the biggest thing for them is, will Tyler Coley be healthy or not? Because they're definitely a much lower ceiling on that team if he's not. Number three, you got Kentucky, which I think is the second best team in the country behind UConn. But they don't play defense. But they got some 7-footers. They got wing defenders in Reed Shepard and Justin Edwards. I think they can come around. Four, you got Duke. They were part of the non-Jimmy Valvano NC State Wolfpack ACC tragedy run, but Kyle Filipowski, Jeremy Rose, Jared McCain, and Tyrese Proctor, they have a lot of guard play and a definable star in Kyle Filipowski. So I think that this is definitely the more dangerous region of the two that I'm covering because, like I said, all four of these top four seeds are national title contenders, but all four of them have legitimate concerns that I think could take them out before the second weekend. So I'm going to jump into the upset picks because, that's a favorite part of the March Madness. Everybody loves seeing the little scrappy underdog beat the big dog. So a lot of people are sitting on this one, but I'm going to go ahead and write it out too. You got 12-seeded James Madison over 5 Wisconsin. Wisconsin was one of the worst teams in basketball, especially in the Big Ten, after about the middle of January. Went into the Big Ten tournament having lost 8 out of 11. Now, they do have some pretty talented guard play with A.J. Storr, Chucky Hepburn, but as a fan of a team that was very mercurial, you don't want that coming tournament time. So I think this James Madison team obviously had 31 wins. And the way they pace and space the court, I think that could be a recipe for disaster for Wisconsin, who can struggle to score the ball at times. Second big upset pick, and this one's based just purely off momentum, 11 NC State over 6 Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a little different than the Texas Tech team of past, built a little bit more about around offense and can defend if necessary. But we saw what NC State did. That's the non-Jimmy Valvano NC State Wolfpack. Who's going to pick against them? But they got a definable guy in DJ Horne, one of the best scorers in the ACC. And you're talking about a team that just took down Duke and UNC in the span of 5 days. So I think that both of those teams are better than Texas Tech, and Texas Tech doesn't have a definable guy, at least a definable guard that you can count on for consistent buckets. And for that, I think that DJ Horne and the Wolfpack and Big DJ Byrne will continue their upset trend and momentum in this. Third one for me, I'm honestly going to take whoever that 4-4 winner is between Colorado and Boise State over Florida. For me, Colorado is probably the double-digit seed in this bracket that I can see being a bracket buster. You're not going to find a better three-man trio in college basketball than K.J. Simpson, Tristan Da Silva, and Coda Williams, a potential lottery pick. And Eddie Lampkin is a guy that has experienced, talented big. So obviously, we know Florida, made it to the SEC championship game too. But Riley Kugel's definitely been up and down. Will Clay is more of a knockdown shooter than a guy creates his own shot. And I think that with the wave of momentum that Colorado's been riding, 8-game winning streak going into the Pac-12 championship game before they lost to Oregon, I think that this is a really talented team, and they have the makings of not only an NBA guy, Coda Williams, but 2 really good college players in Simpson and Tristan Da Silva that I think could really do damage if they can stay on the same wavelength they've been in through the late game stretch of the Pac-12. So that all being said, we ain't talked about a lot of the big dogs, but for me, I have Kentucky running this region. Like I said, when you had the guard play, Rob Dillingham, Antonio Reeves, Reed Shepard, you got 3 7-footers, Aaron Bradshaw, Big Z, and my boy Big O. And I just think the wing play with Justin Edwards really defining himself, and a guy, like I said, Antonio Reeves, who doesn't have to play on the ball with Dillingham, DJ Wagner, and Shepard. I think they're the most complete team in the country when they come to play. Obviously, counting on this team to defend for 6 straight games can be a lot, but I think they had the second best win in the country besides Iowa State when they blew out Tennessee in Knoxville. And I just think that when you have a team that's rolling like this, not rolling like this because they just got bounced in the SEC tournament, but when you have a team that has this much talent, they don't have to be at 100% to win. So A lot of people are going to pick Houston out of this bracket. 41 points in a conference championship game is a sad output, and I think that Kentucky may have 3 or even 4 guards that are more talented offensively than Jamal Shead. So for me, you're a South bracket winner. Don't kill me, folks from Memphis, but I got Calipari and the Wildcats. Going over to the East region, it's a bad space here. You got a one in a possible in terms of the top 4 seeds, national championship contenders. Obviously, you got UConn, most complete team, most dominant team in the country, most poised for back-to-back probably since the late Florida teams with Joakim Noah, Core Brewer, and all those guys. Iowa State, obviously a statement game in the Big 12 championship, beating Houston the way they did, but they don't have really one guy that scares you in terms of creating a shot off the dribble offensively, and I think that may hold them back. Number 3, Illinois, who I think may be the second best team in this tournament, in this bracket, outside of UConn. TJ Shannon, I think, should be a first-round pick. We saw him put up 40 in the Big Ten tournament. They got a lot of diversity in terms of ball handlers. They can go Shannon, they can go Coleman Hawkins, they can go the other kid on the wing. And I really like their chances. And we've seen them go toe-to-toe in a really tough conference. And 4, Auburn. Well, I think Dan Hurley's hot right now, but I think this is the best coach in the bracket. We've seen him have postseason success recently at Auburn. The guard play worries me a little bit. You got KD Johnson, you got Aiden Holloway, who hasn't been the most consistent, but we got a guy in Johnny Broom. We got a front court like Johnny Broom and Jalen Williams. I find it hard to have 2 teams that are going to match with that front court game in and game out. So I don't think that there's a lot of matchups in this bracket that lend itself to upsets. I only have one that I'm predicting. That'll be Drake over Washington State, and even that I can definitely be flipped on. Tucker DeVries, your dad coaching, it's really cool. It's a good story, and they bounced Indiana State out of the. Somebody look it up for me. But they caused Indiana State a turning spot by beating them in the conference tournament. So this team has been to the tournament. This is a team that has won in the tournament as recently as last year. And I think that if they're going to be an upset in here, this is the upset to have. So UAB over San Diego State and Dukins over BYU are 2 that I have. But for me, that's the only upset that I'll be going with. So it's simple. This is UConn's region to lose. Like I said, obviously with them being the number 1 overall seed, they got the weakest 2 seed in Iowa State, who I don't think anybody sees as a national championship contender. So they need to watch out for Illinois and Auburn. We know about Bruce Pearl, and Aiden Holloway is a guy that can become a March star, honestly, with his prolific shot-making ability. But there's been no team more consistent over this college basketball season than the UConn Huskies. So you got to see my bracket to see my pick, but I think they get to the Final Four with no problem.
Breaking down the NCAA tournament, Midwest region. Purdue versus TCU. Purdue is so sketchy, man. They're so sketchy. We're supposed to believe that they finally are going to break through this year. Almost like how when Virginia lost their 1 versus 16, and next year they won a national championship. Ooh. Give me Purdue over TCU for now, but you never know with that game. Do not bet any money on that game. McNeese versus Kansas. Kansas is healthy. McNeese, they have veteran guards. It's going to be a close game, but give me Kansas to pull it out with Hunter Dixon down in the paint, if healthy. Oregon versus Akron. I believe Oregon, they finally put it together, and they're gonna surge ahead, beat Akron by a healthy amount, maybe about 5 or 6 points. Now we go to Colorado State versus Tennessee. In this game, I'm going to take Colorado State. I feel like in Tennessee, they're a one-man show offensively. If Dr. Connect has one off night, it's over for them. And I can't just depend on them to win 6 straight games and get to the national championship game. That's just not going to happen. I think they falter right there to Colorado State. Now moving into the Sweet 16, Purdue versus Kansas. Purdue, you had a nice run. Sweet 16, that's better than last year, but not good enough. Give me KU as a healthy team to get to the Elite 8. Now, we have Oregon versus Colorado State. Neither one of these teams were predicted to make it this far, are predicted to make it this far. Neither one of these teams really have just been like a marquee team throughout the season, but both of these teams are going to be really good. Give me Colorado State to keep on the march from first 4 now into the Elite 8. Now, representing the Midwest, playing in Detroit, Michigan, I'm going to say KU. They finally put it back together. They were one of the better teams, elite teams at the beginning of the season. They faltered because of injuries. Now healthy. Give me Kansas to go to the Final Four out of the Midwest region.